You are listening to the Cattle Call Podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The Cattle Call Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cattle Call Podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. I am Jim, your cheery, happy host, and with me is my wet blanket and miserable guy this morning.
Who says I'm wet and miserable?
You. Just before we got in here, you were complaining that you hate life. You're like, mwah, mwah. You're like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, dude. Just mwah.
That's just mean. You guys see what he does to me?
No, I'm not mean. See, I made you laugh. That's it. I got to get you upbeat for the show. So it's not torture. It's done with love, Rocco. So okay. All right. So here you go. So
okay.
Very funny. I love the Eeyore voice. You can have so much fun with people. Someday, remind me, I got to tell you a story. I worked with a guy that we used to call Eeyore because that's exactly how he talked.
Crazy. Come on, just tell the folks the story. We got it.
Ain't nothing to it other than the guy was just the absolute best. He was a brilliant engineer, one of the smartest men he ever worked with. But he talked like this all the time. And it was insane. It was the hardest thing not to laugh every time I talked to him. He's a great guy, but the voice killed me. So, goodness. All right, so what are we talking about today? Oh, I know what we're talking about today. Today we are talking about the Great Resignation. And Rocco was worried because I know this has come up as kind of a subtopic in our last couple of podcasts. And that's kind of why I kicked it out today to kind of talk about it on its own, right? So I want to talk about the Great Resignation. So look, the Great Resignation is here, and we are all having to cope with it, right? We're losing our best people at an alarming rate, and there is a shortage of replacements available to take their place, right? And even if we do find likely candidates, there seems to be an epidemic of them just disappearing after they've expressed interest in a job. Rocco and I have had that very problem here at Zentech, right? We're looking to hire right now, and we have had at least 3 likely candidates just ghost us, right? Either just skipping interviews or just, not getting back to us after we make them a job offer. Look, so, we're going to talk today about the reasons we see behind the Great Resignation, but let me just say this real quick to anybody who is listening right now, who is actively looking to make a move. Don't be an inconsiderate ass. All right, look, if my job isn't for you, that's fine. I'm not going to be upset. Just give me a, thanks, but no thanks. All right, you give me that response, and we're going to part as friends. Listen, folks, the business world, right, particularly the design build world, is really, really small. Don't think that these employers who you're treating poorly right now are in your rearview mirror and going to be forgotten. You are going to see them again down the road, and they're going to remember you. Right? Don't burn bridges when a simple phone call or an email makes it all good. Right? That's it. Okay. Enough of my grandfatherly wisdom, right?
Wow.
Well, hey, listen, it bugged me. I hate when people do that. I know. Yeah, I know. You were annoyed too. We both bitched about it, but I just vented, so I'm good now. So
you feel better?
I feel much better. Thank you.
Oh, good.
Good job, Eeyore. All right, look, we're like I said, we're really here to talk about the why of this Great Resignation, right? And how those of us in the design build world can kind of start dealing with it in the most effective manner. So, Rocco, let's start on the why here, right? What's your personal opinion on why there's this big mass migration and disappearance of workers?
I think there's a lot of reasons behind it. I mean, it's people could point to politics, but come on, people, let's get beyond the politics. I mean, I think it's a lot of reasons. I think for one, there's a lot of people that are older that are just calling it quits because they're close to retirement, and hey, I could simplify my life here, and I could make do with what I have. why stick it out and put myself at risk of getting sick and deal with the stress and so I'm 60 years old. I'm 65 years old. It's
You're
time to call it
65
quits.
years old?
I'm
Dude,
giving you an example.
I thought you were in your 70s. I didn't know you were that young.
So I think that's part of it, and I think there's I think the whole structure of work is changing. I think there's a lot of jobs that can be thankful to the technology, right? I think there's a lot of jobs that can be done remotely. I mean, you could work for a company that's in California and live in New Jersey,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of factors behind it. I don't think it just isolates to one.
Now, I think you're absolutely right. And I kind of want to try and hit on most of those today. I think those are really good points. From my end, I just kind of want to start by stressing that, the crap that you hear in the press about, lazy millennials who don't want to work, it's just that. It's crap. Right? We are not seeing some type of, employment revolution by 30 somethings who want to make their living selling, cat ears that they made from leaves on Etsy. I think what we're seeing here is a culmination of bad management practices over the last 50 years, right? Combined with some short-sighted financial goals and a lack of long-term planning by business. For decades now, management has been browbeating workers, right? Basically telling us all that we're lucky to have jobs and that they couldn't, give us more than, basic cost of living raises, if we even got that, right? Because there's problems in the economy and it's bad and the Dow is down, right? And that all sounds rational, right? Except that senior management wages, bonuses, share profits have risen at record rates during that time, right? Employers have had the power and exercised it mercilessly, abusing workers by making salaried people work 80 or more hours a week, right? Refusing to pay overtime to people, cutting benefits, cutting back healthcare, anything that they could think of to increase profits. Right? The truth is, corporate America took advantage of its workers with impunity, and they thought that would last forever. There was a set of processes, I guess, and expectations for your work life that we all just had to accept if we wanted to eat and we wanted to have a roof over our heads. Well, all of that shifted with the advent of COVID. Right? All of a sudden, that decades old work process got blown up. Right? People had to work from home and they had to learn to survive on reduced income and working fewer hours. And they had to do things like cooking meals at home and clipping coupons. And I think the big surprise, right, though it really shouldn't have been one, but it was a big surprise, was that most people realized that not having to spend 10 to 20 hours every week commuting to an office, right, and paying for gas and paying for tolls and paying for daycare, that overall it reduced their cost of living. Right? And I think everybody kind of discovered the big lie, right, which is that we didn't need to have two full-time incomes to survive, right, and that the quote unquote necessary sacrifices that we had to make for the sake of our corporate families, they're just fantasies. Right? We discovered or rediscovered really that a home life and a personal relationship were far more important than having the latest model car or a faster iPhone. Right? If you couple that realization, right, with what Rocco was saying before, the newfound technology, right, the ability to work remotely, that gave workers the ability to pick and choose the jobs that they want, no matter where in the world they are. Right? Almost every job in this modern technology-driven world can be done remotely, at least part of the time. All jobs. Right? A lot of us can work full-time remotely exclusively. And I think that shifted the power to the hands of the workers instead of the employers. So, Rocco, how have our clients been handling these issues, right? Are they changing their work processes to adapt to these worker demands, or do you find folks who are still trying to kind of force fit older work ideas?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture. I mean, you know, I think some people are being forced into it, right, because of everything that's going on, and because the employees are kind of pulling the employers in a more, let's say, remote kind of structure or hybrid structure. And I think there's a level of folks out there who are younger, let's say, and who know how technology work, who are truly realizing and pushing the other way. So it's kind of push and pull, if that makes sense, you know.
Hmm.
But we're definitely seeing both situations, and large or small, right? And again, the technology allows you to be able to do that. And at first, it was like there was a lot, right? I guess particularly in the early part of 2020, right? There was a lot of I think a lot of IT folks in particular were going nuts trying to figure out how to make the technology work.
Yeah.
But I think they quickly figured it out because the technology has been out there. So it was a matter of just deploying what's out there,
Hmm.
what's been available to them. I mean, you look at Microsoft Teams, for example, right? I mean, some people complain about it, but let's face it, it's a very good, stable collaboration tool that's been out there. And so, you know, all of a sudden we saw tons of people just jumping on the Teams bandwagon,
Hmm.
and they're doing it. They're using it today.
Yeah. No,
So,
absolutely. I agree 100%, right? The tech was there and it was just about, you know, something that was going to cause management to allow it to be implemented. And it kind of got forced down their throats whether they wanted to or not. So, I think the other item that we need to consider on this topic is that, the short term thinking of a lot of firms, right? And a lot of schools as well, has really hurt the design build world in particular. And we've talked about this before, right? But because we spent so many years steering young people to colleges, and we've kind of allowed the perception that construction work is quote unquote labor only, right? And somehow it's to be looked down on. You're working with your hands and getting dirty. Because of that, we're facing both a skilled labor and a construction technology shortage, right? All of our best people in this industry, they're ancient, like Rocco and I, right?
hey,
Hey,
I'm only 25.
he's only 25 for the third time. Uh, so, no, look, Rocco was saying earlier, right? We're starting to lose our best and brightest out there, right? We're in the middle of one of the largest retirement processes in history, right? Which has been another big factor in this great resignation, right? Folks who are, who they were planning to work for another 10 or more years at their high stress jobs realized, what? I don't have to. They could, retire early and they can supplement their income doing something that, they halfway enjoy, even if it's halfway across the country, you know? We're losing, like I said, those best and brightest with very few people behind them to take their place. And the ones that are there who have the capability and are younger, they're being really selective in the who and the how and the when of who they're willing to work with, right? And the end shot of all this is that, most of us are going to have to learn to do more with less staff, right? We're going to have to, change that management expectations, to avoid the, just get it done mentality, right? And find ways to increase speed and efficiency without beating workers into the ground like so many firms have done over the past 50 years. And look, I know that sounds like a tall order, right? Well, it is and it isn't. It's doable. I mean, I think, this is an approach that Rocco and I took when we first founded Zentech, long before we had pandemics and resignations to worry about. We found ways here to work smarter, not harder, and try very hard to treat our employees as valued professionals whose personal life is respected, right? While they get, way more work done than we'd have ever gotten from them in a traditional work environment. We are a distributed company, a digital company, right? And we make a point of almost never asking anybody to work overtime because there's no benefit to them or to us for that. You get burnout. So just my opinion there. All right. So I tell you what, stick around, folks. And in the second half of the show, I want to talk about the how of overcoming the problems of the Great Resignation. So stay tuned. We'll be back in just a minute with more of the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, Rocco. So we are sponsoring ourselves yet again today. What is it we want to talk about?
We're going to talk about me today, Jim.
No, no one wants to talk about you. Not even you.
Oh, fine. Let's talk about Zentek Tech Blocks.
Awesome. I like Zentek Tech Blocks. Zentek Tech Blocks are prepaid support hours that let you call on Zentek's experienced technical staff to address all your support questions, problems, help you with workflows and standards, really anything you need on the technology side. We're here to provide the support you need so that your most talented people aren't being dragged into helping everybody else in your company instead of working on the billable jobs that you need them focused on. All right. So Zentek Tech Blocks are available in multiple sizes. We sell them in 5-hour, 10-hour, 20-hour, and 40-hour prepaid support blocks. And if you're interested and you need that sort of help, Rocco, how do they reach out to us?
Yeah, hit up our website, zentechconsultants.net. Give us a ring, 866-824-4459, or even drop us an email, sales@zentechconsultants.net.
All right. Zentek Tech Blocks, the vital support that your people need exactly at the moment that they need it. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Battle Call podcast, where we're talking about the Great Resignation. And in this half, I want to talk about how our listeners can kind of address those changing concepts of what work is and how they can do more with less staff and asking your staff to work fewer hours. The first thing I want to talk about here is the idea of efficiency. For a really, really long time now, companies, in this industry have been able to kind of, throw money and throw bodies at a problem, rather than fix an inefficient process. And I don't think that's the case anymore. I think that every firm in the design build world needs to look at, everything they do with an eye towards efficiency. And I mean everything, from how many emails you send to where you store your files and how problems get addressed and resolved. Look, folks, on average, right, workers in our industry spend 15 hours every week just emailing back and forth. That's 2 full days of doing nothing but reading and replying to messages that are usually just pointless reiterations of information that we could easily centralize, right, and train people on how to access on their own, right? According to Forbes, workers spend over 20% of their work week just looking for the files they need to do their job. I add that to the email thing, and you've lost 3 full days of work from every one of your employees every week, right? Better file hosting systems, email reduction processes, right, and similar small items for efficiency can have a really dramatic impact, letting you do more with fewer people because they're not spending days looking for the things that should be right at their fingertips. Okay. So, Rocco, we actually do a lot of efficiency consulting for things like, Office 365 and SharePoint to kind of help, people address these day-to-day issues. Where are clients expressing the most interest for us to help them in the general business arena?
I think it's a big component is around just bringing around the technology, right? Bringing people from real outdated technology up to the current. That's one big part of it, and the other is around the collaboration. Again, the tools are out there. I mean, it's just about getting them to use it. Office 365 has Teams and SharePoint. I mean, those are huge collaboration boosting tools that are available. Within Bluebeam Review, it's such a it's such an inexpensive tool, and there's something like 80% of construction companies are using Bluebeam. So within Bluebeam Studio, I mean, the collaboration functionality that's built in there is huge. We do a lot with Procore. So I think it comes down to those two right now in my mind is the collaboration component and outdated getting current.
Yeah, I definitely see the collaboration being a big thing now, right? There's so many different companies and people involved in a construction job. Being able to centralize the data into one location and have everybody working on the same stuff at the same time That's huge. That's such a money and time saver, and it's going to be much more important in the years to come. Because I think within the kind of the design build arena, I think there's a big need to be smarter about our software. Look, one of the problems that we've run into as an industry is that same mistake of throwing money at the problem. Right? Oh, something's not working. Something's taking too long. The answer has been, buy more software. Right? More is always better. Right? More software means more tools, hence more potential solutions. And that's almost always the wrong answer. Right? Look, let me give you a real world example. Right? So Autodesk. Right? And I know I beat up on them sometimes. They have good products, but I do beat up on their business practices. Autodesk pushes everybody to upgrade to their AEC collection for CAD work, right? It's something like 14 software packages, for a few $100s more than you'd spend buying just one or two of those, as a standalone. And I guess that's a great deal, but it actually does three things. Number one, it slows your people down because they don't know which tool they're supposed to use. Right? It's going to get you flawed output because there are too many tools for them to use effectively. Right? And it's also going to cost you more in terms of backup and storage and power consumption and usage and issues and so on. Right? It's going to cost you far more money than you save. Right? Most people who are dealing with these large suites of software never use more than one package in it on a regular basis anyway. Okay. So, as an industry, we need to be moving towards smaller, more affordable, highly efficient tools that do exactly what we need as fast as it possibly can and no more. Okay. Right. Good examples for that, right? Things like, BricsCAD and Civil Site Design, right? Those are two CAD systems that have kind of partnered together to kind of give, really flexible and really fast, easy to use design workflows. Right? It's about working smarter, right, and not getting sucked in by salespeople, like Rocco is. Shame on you, Rocco.
Being mean again.
Being mean again. Sorry, or right. Salespeople who want to sell you kind of the all-in-one solution to every problem that could ever arise. This will do everything. It'll wax your car for you. Right? Don't fall for that. Right? Get systems. Get software that does exactly what you need it to do on a daily basis really, really well, right? And trust your staff to handle the unexpected things that are going to come up with their own skills, okay? That's the key, right? So, Rocco, are you seeing a push towards eliminating redundant or overly complicated software in favor of, easier to use, more efficient systems?
Yeah, I think again, particularly now that so many people are working in a remote slash hybrid kind of structure. People are really trying to simplify, right? And it's in so many ways, right? They're just trying to simplify life, and some of these packages do have way too much, and they are looking at the okay, what do I really need on a daily basis to get the job done? So it's yes, definitely.
Okay. Yeah. So it's nice that Rocco agrees with me once in a while. It always surprises me when he does. I don't know, just throws me. So, another big area that I kind of want to stress in this conversation, right, is that the idea of consultants, and yes, I know that means people like Zentech, right? Consultants are going to be much more important in the next decade than they've ever been. Look, you're not going to have spare staff or spare time to find all these efficiencies and improved software processes we're talking about on your own, right? You're going to need your people, your direct employees, focused on billable work much more than you ever have before, right? Because they're not going to be working 80 hours a week anymore. It's just not going to happen. And if you try to make them, your people will just leave. All right. So working with a technology consultant to help with these software issues and efficiency issues and workflow issues, it also I think needs to become a long term thing. It's not just a one and done engagement anymore, right? And that means that folks like Rocco and I, we have to adjust how we engage with our clients as well. All consultants are going to have to, right? That idea of a single big bluebird contract has to go away, right? And all consultants need to start working as a reliable partner with clients who are going to work together over the course of years at affordable and predictable rates. I mean,
Wow.
yeah, we have to, but I will be fair and say we kind of always had that mindset, but it's not common in our industry, right? I mean, consultants are like, I'm gonna hit this guy and get every dime I can and make the big payday, and then move on to the next big contract. Um, and I think that idea of single big contracts is it's done, right? I think having a relationship with clients that's built on trust and it provides benefits in both directions is the key. I
Yeah,
you
but
know
you did not have that that thought process a few years back, Jim, right? I mean, to be honest with you, right, when you and I started working together at our previous employer, even you were trying to go for the
hmm
big pieces of the pie,
I was, I
so
was. That's because I was getting paid commission, dude. I wanted my money. I wanted the new car. I was just like everybody else. I'm not saying I'm a saint, but I think
no,
we
but
both
you,
saw
you,
that.
you, yeah, you did realize that over time that hey, going after the smaller piece of the pie was more realistic, and
Yeah.
that's what getting in with the customer, making sure that they're comfortable and satisfied with your services, and that they're working with an affordable piece of the checkbook versus going in debt for a huge project. It's just more attractive, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I will be even fair, Rocco would say something nice here and say that I learned that from you. It was something that you had to convince me of, show me, and I learned that what? He is absolutely right. And it's, by the time we got around to doing Zentech, I was on board with that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. That's not where I started. I was all about get the big money, get them big contracts, show everybody how awesome I am. But you live and you learn. So
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, look, to my mind, the ideal situation for companies is having one consultant, right, who can handle almost all of your technology needs, right? Someone who can, recommend what new systems you should be buying, right? You look at your workflows and help you make them more efficient, right? Someone who will sell you the right software, just the software you need and nothing more, right? They're going to help you to implement it and install it. They're going to, train your staff and provide long-term ongoing support and help for your users, right? And I mean that not just for the software, right? But on actual practical use of it on your billable jobs. Right? And that is something that we have been focusing on here at Zentech, right? To help our clients address these worker shortages. That's how we're changing up. So Rocco, what type of projects or offerings are we seeing folks responding to right now, right? What type of services or support do design build companies really help them deal with these issues?
Oh gosh, I mean we're involved in so much. I mean whether we're taking a Civil 3D customer that's real behind on a real old release, trying to get current to the most current release and getting their people trained, or whether we're building a dashboard or a tool chest within Bluebeam Review, or helping with workflows around Procore, um, around custom training across the board, around CAD or Procore or Bluebeam,
hmm
you name it, or collaboration with Office 365, Microsoft 365. Those are the kinds of things we're involved with.
Yeah, and I think what's been a real big thing for us, right, is we've been doing we call them our tech blocks. They're kind of prepaid support contracts for long term support, which is what the idea that hey, you've already got a set block of hours, and that people can just call your consultant and work with us and just be like, look, I have a problem, this isn't working, or I'm not sure how to design this, or I've never, it's been 3 months since I worked in a CAD system, what do I do? And we can just jump online, right? Our staff will just get on with them and help them work through for 2 or 3 hours at a clip, focus on their billable jobs. That's a huge thing that on the tech side of the house here, I have just been seeing grow like crazy. We've got so many new contracts coming in with that because, like I said, people need to do more with fewer people, and having a specialist kind of on speed dial to help you with whatever your problem is a big benefit. So, all right. So look, another aspect of the Great Resignation, I think that we're all going to need to accept and address. Right? It's that the concept of the remote worker, it's not going away. All right. I really think that a big number of the people who are walking away from jobs are doing so because of employers who are trying to force them back into traditional work roles, and people are just not willing to do that. Look, I've heard and read all the corporate rationales about in-person mentoring, and it's so vital, and fostering community within the office, and the need for personal interaction to understand our company persona and help you rise up the corporate ladder. Yeah, that's all BS. In my mind, it's crap. What it really is, it's mid-level managers, who don't do any actual billable work, but they realize that their entire job is dependent on having people around in the office to, quote unquote, keep watch over, right? Without in-office workers, you don't need watchdogs, right? And that has a lot of people scared. So they're scrambling, right? For any reason they can find to justify trying to force people back into old work methods. And it's just not going to fly, right? Mandatory full-time on-site or in-office work, it's gone, and it is never coming back. I get that there are a lot of jobs out there that require in-person time, right? Particularly the construction field, right? You got to be on site. But employers need to be actively planning and providing hybrid work environments for that, right? Things like, a half day on site, right? And then you can work at home in the afternoons, or, alternating days, working from home and working from site, right? Yeah, the specifics are going to vary from company to company and job to job, right? But you need to take the needs of your workers and their families into account for this, not just the need of the company and the company's profits, right? Profit can't be derived anymore by demanding more from our workers, right? They're just not going to tolerate it. We all need to start demanding more from our technology and refining our workflows to generate better outcome and less waste on each project, right? To make up that differential, right? Honestly, the Great Resignation, it's not a resignation at all. It's not. It's a cultural shift that is presenting us with an opportunity here. And I really believe this, right? To treat workers better with more pay and better benefits while optimizing our internal procedures so that the company can become even more profitable while treating workers better. I truly believe that companies who embrace this concept are going to come out of the next few years in a far better position than they had going into this era, right? They're going to grow this way, right? So there you go. There's my communist liberal manifesto. I'll leave it there, all right? So with that said, we'll leave our devoted listeners to ruminate on the pearls of wisdom, of tech wisdom that Rocco and I dropped today, and we'll let you all get back to your day. Say goodbye to the nice people, Rocco.
What in the world does ruminate mean?
Actually, the technical definition of ruminate actually works very well with our cattle call. It is actually the ability for cows to spit their cud back up into their mouth and continue to chew on it after they've already digested it. That's why cows are constantly chewing.
Why did I ask?
It's ruminating. It's doing something again, which fits in perfectly because we are the cat. Oh, come on! I hit that. There it goes. The Cattle Call Podcast. We'll catch you next time, folks. Have a good one. All right, everybody. Today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net, or you can even call us 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from you all.